So when I met David, he wasn't nothing. You know, it wasn't no devil disciple. You know, it just was 63rd Street boy. It is. And David was a egotistic man. A lot of people say, oh man, David's a good guy. No, David was an asshole. But they loved him. You know, he stood for righteousness. You know, he wanted to take people on a different path. You know what I'm saying? He was intelligent. But what about Kilroy? Kilroy was co-leader. Without Kilroy, there'd be no disciple. Without David, there still would be no disciple. But they say Kilroy was important. That's a lie. Kilroy truly was against him. I'm going to say that before I go on. Him and David had a boxing match. They were battling. And they talked about that shit for a year.
If you live in a city, any city, big or small, and you would like for Mr. Rick to come to your town, get as many subscribers as you can in your town, go in the comments, let me know who your OGs are. They could be men or ladies, doesn't matter, as long as they have a great history. Whoever has the most subscribers, I will interview them. We won't pick them, you will pick them. So we'd like to tell those stories. Let me know why Mr. Rick should come to your city and interview the OG ladies and the OG gentlemen. That's it. That's all. OG, two letters that define respect. I created the original OGs to document the forgotten parts of American history. I want to recognize and give a voice to the men and women that have climbed to the top of their game. The men and women this marquee have been authenticated as original OGs. Welcome to my world, a world of the originals, the unique. Welcome to the original OGs. Welcome to the original OGs, and I'm your host, OG Mr. Rick. Today we have another interesting guest. We're going to continue to carry through the journey we've been going with the history of the organizations in Chicago. We have with us today Mr. Narvel. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good.
I want to ask a basic question. Where are you from?
Chicago.
You're from Chicago, and your parents are from
Mississippi.
Can you recall your upbringing as to what it was like when you were a very young child in that time or before the civil rights?
Vaguely.
Vaguely.
You know, as a child, you know, my grandmother took five siblings in, you know, and she raised us. So, as a child, I was good.
Do you remember the separation before the integration? How we had to deal with white society?
Yeah, well, you know, we had whites on 35th, you know, in King Drive. Where there was everything there. Then we had them on 47 in Austin. Then we had them down there on 35th in Windward, behind Sox Park, you know. But you know, in the daytime, you find something real hard. You know, you try to divert yourself from different things. You know, white and black, and I really didn't see no racial unity. But my thing was, if you come to fight, you be on fight. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, you know, integration, it was one of the things we're going to look forward to. You know, sooner or later we're going to come.
Even though we didn't pay attention to the racial issue, it did exist.
Of course.
And where was that at and what was that like?
It was behind, I can't even call it.
Sox Park?
Yeah, Sox Park.
So we're talking 35th Street,
Yeah, just hosted all
Halsted.
around there, you
Okay.
know, where we wasn't allowed to be over there after dark.
What would happen if you were caught over there after dark?
We got to fight
Okay.
to survive, to get back to where we're going.
Okay.
See, not too long ago, we had a guy beaten, you know, and I'm surprised didn't no ride jump off. But, you know, it was one of them things, you know. We
So
play one day and we be going the next day.
these clashes, as for a term, would happen between blacks and whites.
Yeah. And down the line, you build up.
When that club becomes a gang, the gang becomes an organization, then how did you choose the head of the organization?
See, again, I always tell people I'm the chosen one. You know what
Let's
I'm
go with
saying?
that.
Yeah, because I didn't step up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I was down. But I had so much heart that they would listen to me.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And then I was a good fighter.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So then I was intelligent too.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So now they looking at me to guide them through.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They may have a leader, right? But they didn't look upon him as a leader.
Okay.
They came to me because I'm gonna say, let's go.
You were
A
the
war counselor.
person, a war counselor. You were the person that was willing to step up to the front line when there was a disturbance.
True.
As this is happening, the organization is starting to conceptually create itself. How does David come into play?
They were, see, my auntie lived out south. And all them was to spend the night at my aunt's house. So when I met David, he wasn't nothing. You know, it wasn't no devil disciple. You know, it just was 63rd Street boy.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So by me being introduced to David and the rest of the guy who spent the night at my aunt's house, you know, I became familiar with them.
You said when you were introduced to David. Let's look at that. How did that happen?
Well, they would tell me how good he can box,
Okay.
you know. And he was sitting on the porch. And that's David there, you know, he can box. And I'm always, I can box, so yeah, I feel like it may be a challenge there, you know what
Okay.
I'm saying? And on down the line, we might get into it, you know what I'm saying? But as we talk, we began to share different things.
You were a good fighter. David was a good fighter.
Yes.
Two subjects come to mind. The first one is, did you and David ever have to engage in that particular act? Just a demonstration of each skill.
I recall one incident. We were in the county jail, and Danny Robertson, he was the director of the county jail. He let me and David put on an exhibit out there on the yard.
Okay.
You know, so, you know, it was like, I got you, boy. I'm like, bring it on, you know. It was good, you know. People say this and people say that, who winning, you know. And I'm like, can't let this little motherfucker hit me, you know what I'm saying? And he hit too hard. Hey, but you know, it was a good thing. You know, it was a good thing. He could have been a pro. You know, so
Interesting.
so good.
Interesting. Did you have that type of situation on the South Side? There were gyms that you went to harness your skills.
Yeah, we had Al James. It was on 42nd and State. Then we had the Armory on 35th and Giles. Then we had Stateway Garden. You know, I did most of my training in the gym at Stateway Garden.
Where did David train?
David, you know, I couldn't say, but I never seen David in the gym. He probably went to one.
It was obvious he went somewhere.
Yeah, well, you know, hey, yeah, he did go, But what I'm saying is, to minimize that, you know, that take from the street, he didn't do no everyday thing. You know what I'm saying? Like all of us, we come out to IYC, you know, Illinois Youth Commission, you know. So we learn how to fight there.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And that's supposed to be one step below the penitentiary.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But a lot of people learn how to fight there or get their ass beat.
I
You
get
know what I'm saying?
If you had aspirations to fight, that was a place
to learn.
What type of person was David? Mild-mannered, egotistical?
Yeah, you know, man had a problem. You know, our ego is bigger than what it is. And David was an egotistic man. A lot of people say, oh man, David's a good guy. No, David was an asshole. But they loved him. You know, he stood for righteousness. You know, he want to take people on a different path. You know what I'm saying? He's a guy that you want to be around, you know what I'm saying, because he uplifts the spirit. You know, he take the homeless and make them a home, you know what I'm saying?
A born leader.
Yeah. See, you know, when you're able to talk to a person and ask that person leave, you know, he had the understanding that I can come to this guy and he would deliver whatever I need. I mean, by delivering, I mean the knowledge that a person have, you know, he getting to the next man. So in the community, he opened up different programs, you know what I'm saying? He stopped some of the violence, you know. Like I said, David was a person that a lot of people would like to know, you know what I'm saying, but didn't know. And they create an image of him. You know, David was a good guy. You be a good guy, you gang banging in the street. When you live in this lifestyle, you know, you judge by this lifestyle.
True.
You know, it's the character of a man. You know, the persona that we give a person. You know, they notice that they trying to get more and more, and then when lies come into play, you know, you delete.
The conversation concerning David Boxdale, of who he was, meaning that you all first organized what?
Well, as I told you before, me and David go back. A lot of people think that being associated with one is kind of disturbing, you know. And I guess they would like to know something about David, you know.
True.
So what I tell them is, you know, it's hard to explain because my viewpoint is different from theirs, you know. One lie can destroy a whole thing, whole picture, you know what I'm saying, that you paint. But David he was intelligent, he was bold, and, you know, he loved to dance. I used to say James Brown, you know what I'm saying?
You do James Brown?
Yeah.
Okay.
And plus he looked like James Brown.
I remember he had the pompadour and all of that.
We go in the trail now, I'm like, hey Jane, give me a dance, man. And he'll jump up and do the little thing. But that was a lot of fun. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. When did you all create what was first, Black Disciples or what
Devil Disciple.
Devil Disciples?
Yeah,
Give me some history on that.
Devil Disciple. You know, people make their own stories.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And if they don't know, it becomes a lie. Because once you say something out your mouth, you got to continue to build on that.
Mm-hmm.
But Champ Harris, Laverne Longstreet, they introduced Devil Disciple within the organization,
Which organization?
which will become Devil Disciple.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So by him introduced, he chose David to be the leader.
Who did?
Laverne,
Okay. Longstreet?
yeah,
Okay.
and Champ Harris.
Okay.
They the one that initiate that. You know, they didn't want it, but they needed someone in the street to protect one. You know what I'm saying? So this is where Devil Disciple come in. We created, from a group to a mob to a gang.
Mm-hmm.
So when you do that, you got to have leadership. Then what I fail to understand is they get David all the glory, but what about Kilroy? Kilroy was co-leader. Without Kilroy, there'd be no disciple. Without David, it still would be no disciple. But they say Kilroy was the enforcer. That's a lie. He had leadership too. So as that I call it a brooch because it's bringing the neighborhood together. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Then when you got David Boxdale, you got Roy Dawson, and then you got Old Timer. See, that was the main ingredients right there. Then you had Good, which a lot of people didn't know that Good was a high priest. But if you ask a person, what was Good? Yeah, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of things. And then everyone have an idea of who they are and where they want to be. You know what I'm saying? And then we have motherfuckers that turn the table. You know what I'm saying?
What does that mean?
Snitching.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that, they go beyond saying,
Now, tell me something. Give me a clearer picture of Kilroy. How should people know Kilroy in the scheme of creating this organization?
Kira truly was a gangster. Truly was.
Okay.
And, but him and Dave were like Simon twins and shit.
Okay.
And I'm going to say that before I go on.
Mm-hmm.
Him and David had a boxing match. They were battling. And they talked about that shit for a year.
Okay. It's beautiful.
Yeah. They were throwing and letters. But anyway, Kira, that's my man though, rest in peace.
Mm-hmm.
But he was the backbone to David. You know what I'm saying? I say he loved David more than he loved himself. Everything about Kira, you speak of violence because if you do something wrong or you do something at him or he feel like he want to take something, he gonna do that.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
You got Prince Oldtimer.
Yeah.
You got, uh, don't let me do it. Give me the 4 or 5 people you just named that created this structure and then said we want David to be the leader. Who were those people again?
Champ,
Champ,
Laverne.
Laverne.
I want to say a couple more names, but I don't want to throw it out there because I may
No,
be
just stick
wrong.
to the names
you know
that you gave me. It's cool.
But I allow myself to be asked these questions by you and by guys on the street and guys in different cities. So I always try to give them a direct tone or action of who's it who's and what's it what. See, a lot of people get in front of these cameras and lie.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They create an illusion that
Right.
they were there. You know, but when you have guys who don't know, they spit shit out their mouth, but they should keep their mouth shut.
Fabricated.
You saying, give you some idea. I'm saying, you can take this, you can take it. Not naming David as leader, but naming a guy that's around David at that particular time.
Yes.
So when you seen David, you seen Melvin, you seen Boss Rag, you seen Darren Miller, you seen Poochie, you seen Gould, Kilroy, Blackjack. You seen, you take, it's a regular group. I always call them the 12. Because every time I see them, they surround David. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, these the guys that modify and mold David. You know what I'm saying?
I can respect that.
Because you can be a leader without knowing. You know what I'm saying? I was a leader without knowing.
I understand.
Yeah. They chose me.
And then they give you that spirit to become it.
Yeah.
I follow you.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So, in the scheme of things, you putting this organization together, then what does the structure of it look like? Who's here, who's here, who's here. This is how we structured it. You're gonna have this, you're gonna have this, you're gonna have this, so that we can know and understand the structure of power.
See, power create enemies.
Mm-hmm.
Jealousy destroy what you're doing.
I agree.
So if you're trying to set a table of wisdom, I call it wisdom because you got to understand each problem, or you're trying to mend each problem. So when they give you these titles, and you have, your structure may be 12, 9, 10. But what I see fault in is they always putting your friends in there.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Without capability.
Right. So you have, say we go back, we didn't call them kings or whatnot. We call them leaders.
Right.
You know.
I understand. This is an
President.
organization.
Right. Yeah, we call them president. Now they come up with, man, listen, they can't even spell what they're coming up with.
Okay.
But anyway, you back then we had the warlord, war counselor, We had enforcer, which they have today. They have enforcer now, you know what I'm saying? We have spokesman, we call them speakers, So, in completing a structure, you got to have so many guys And that comes from being a fighter and being smart.
True.
You might not be able to fight, but you're intelligent. And that's what we need.
That's your gift.
Our first spokesman was OG.
Really?
Yeah. So, and OG was like, he was like a sponge, because he pulled everything in, and he can recite different things from different period of time.
Okay.
So, like the breakfast thing, he was a big part of that. Educational thing, he was a big part of that. So OG was with David, like 12 hours a day. They together, or sometime they walking together. They might call, what's up,
Right. During this period of time, how old were these gentlemen?
And we were coming up, be 17, 15.
Wow.
So I'm gonna go to the 14.
Wow.
14 on up. We had, then was seniors, and they create an age limit. No, I shouldn't say that. I should say that. An age limit created by your ability. And that sounds crazy. Dude, like, what you talking about? Yeah, if you were 14 and you want to become a devil, they might say you too young. But if you can fight, they gonna accept you in.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say, I'm gonna say it anyway, you know what I'm saying? Then you had groups that were affiliated with us. Now, like we had 3Ds, There were Maniac Jews, Devil Disciples, and Dale Vikings. They were in the 3Ds. That was the beginning of a period of time where we control whatever we were in.
Okay.
So, so you go on, you go on, you go on.
Here are gentlemen, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, creating something that today has pretty much spread it all over the country. You got 13, 14-year-olds that are out here doing certain things. Here you had 14, 15, 16-year-old guys doing a particular thing. Would you say that it has transitioned into something other than what it was intended to do?
Of course.
And share that.
See, people look at us as a low life. You know what I'm saying?
I get it.
That's the media and society where they're holding judgment. The thing we did at an early age reflects on our later years in life, where we went from clubhouse to organization. We went from having nothing to having something. So you in the streets and you joining this organization or this club. It could be because you wanted to, or you need this group for protection.
Peer pressure.
Yeah. So now it's a dividend between what you have and what you don't have.
Hello, this is OG Mr. Rick from the Original OGs. If you live in a city, any city, big or small, and you would like for Mr. Rick to come to your town, get as many subscribers as you can in your town, go in the comments. Let me know who your OGs are. They could be men or ladies. Doesn't matter. As long as they have a great history, whoever has the most subscribers, I will interview them. We won't pick them. you will pick them. So we'd like to tell those stories. Let me know why Mr. Rick should come to your city and interview the OG ladies and the OG gentlemen. That's it. That's all. And we're back with the second half of our show. And we're continuing with Mr. Narvel, a triple OG. Here's a human being that has actually lived through what we're talking about. And we're trying to go inside of the history and the mind of it about certain characters that are out here being upheld today. Brother Narvel, we left off on an interesting part of this conversation. There was a merge between the organizations to become one. But before we go there, we want to talk about why was it necessary to have a merge. I want to take this in a certain direction, but before I can, we need to explore something between the different fractions. I want to kind of step back a little bit and talk about why did there have to be a merge? In order to have a merge, there had to be a separation of some sort. Can you kind of take us there?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so. You know, thinking back, you know, in time, I say in time because one can know, can't remember everything, but the merge, it was a good thing and a bad thing. Let's say the good chairman, Larry Hoover, they created their organization in '66, and the devil came out in '64. So you in the same area, you know, Inglewood, and what you're trying to do, you're trying to step up and be known. You're trying to get that number one spot, you know. Then again, you just might get the spot to protect your little vicinity. But I doubt that because it grew overnight. Where conflict became against a disciple, devil disciple, and supreme gangster, Larry Hoover and David Boxtel. But there's so many rumors about who introduced who to who. First they said with the Prince of Spring Gangster, Tennessee, may he rest in peace, introduced Larry to David Boxtel. I don't know how true that is, so I'm going to throw my hands up on that. Then you had Dee Andrew Howard. Him and David were inseparable. They called them murder together, and they end up with all their time. But the merge had to come from within because you had individuals and devil disciples, and you had individuals and gangsters who said no, they didn't want the merge. But the merge had to come because we were shooting at each other, you know what I'm saying? And Larry was conversating with Jeff Ford. And, you know, that didn't strike. There was a difference in how we felt because of that. So that means if you're talking to Jeff Ford, he's trying to recruit you into his organization.
In your mind?
Yes. And so people was under the impression that Larry Hoover, the chairman, was involved taking in with Jeff Ford by being a member, which it wasn't true. So you take it and, you know, they'd be like, man, I need to talk to that guy, you know.
Which guy?
Larry Hoover.
Okay.
You know, and this was his thinking. The same thinking that Larry Hoover. If we merge together, we'd be the big organization in the city.
Who's going to merge together?
The Devil Disciple and Larry Hoover organization, Supreme Gangster.
Okay.
So, like I said, that was a good idea and bad idea because Devil Disciple, they resented that. And the gangs, they resent that, But the majority ruled, you know what I'm saying? Then, as a leader, you got to convince your guy the meaning and the concept why. Same as Larry Hoover had to do with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
See, but I wasn't there in '69 when they merged together. But I knew about it. I didn't hear them from the lower branch. I heard it from the high up. Now, like I said, nothing got past me what I didn't know. So I'm thinking David Boxer going to share his crown with Larry Hoover. This did happen. And from the beginning, it was love all around. Even though they resent that, but it still was love. Black Gangster Disciple Nation, that's what it came to. So when you understand that, then you can understand why David chose Larry Hoover to stop the killing in Inglewood and preserve somebody so their mama wouldn't be crying at night. So they came together, and that part saved some lives.
If I'm hearing you correctly, Larry was a supreme gangster.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
But let me say something.
Go ahead.
Let me say something.
Yeah, it's your story.
See, but Supreme Gangster, I never got this right in the first place because it was Supreme Gangster and I Supreme Gangster. And I'm trying to differentiate between what is what, because I get confused. You know what
was
I'm saying?
Ike Taylor?
Yeah, Ike. That's
Ike,
my man.
Right. What was he?
Taylor.
Was he High Supreme?
He was High Supreme, so I guess they were High Supreme.
So I guess then that whole scenario was High Supreme, and it just evolved.
So
into...
they kept saying that he was, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they just went with, all right, y'all want me to be that, I'm that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So now he's a High Supreme gangster. Yeah. Okay.
But now the Spring, and I guess was the Pan Grub, family. So you had the choice. I tell a personal friend of mine. I love that boy.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, on the merge, I always say it was a good thing and a bad thing, And coming out there, Black Gangster Disciple, and it was going good, even though Mr. Hoover was locked up. He kept imposing himself on this family in the street. They catered to him, you know what I'm saying? He had a mouth and he can talk. See, and
could fight too.
No.
Hey,
he can take care of himself.
Right.
I'll put it that way.
Right.
But he was good at oratory and speaking, you know what I'm saying? Even though he mumbled with his words, same as me, I mumble with my words, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, the merge, a lot of people like, I can't accept that.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I get it.
You was a man who was around the corner hiding when shit jumped. You know what I'm saying? So that make you a coward, you eradicated from the program, nigga, get away. But anyway, that was a good thing, because the conflict between the two ended.
When the merge did happen, David and Larry were joined together.
Yes.
So when King David left our midst, that left the crown to Larry?
Yes.
That is how the structure should remain? Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you expound on that?
Yes. if you take the word of your king, when he shared power with Larry Hoover, and by faith passed away, the crown should have went to Larry Hoover. Before I go on with this, I'm got to explain a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
The Crusher Man, Knox.
The Crusher Man?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, Greg Knox.
Okay.
Yeah, I call him the Crusher Man. He took the turn of David's last word. David, like, I'm king, Larry Hoover king, and if something happened to me, you follow Larry Hoover. So Knox went from BD to GD because of David's word, follow Larry Hoover. But now back to the merge. It stopped violence against violence between BDs and GDs. So that was a good thing, which I said that was a good thing. But when David died, everything should have went to Larry Hoover because David never broke his oath. He said, you part of me, one half is my whole. So, but BD, like, I'm not following Larry Hoover. Why? He never was a BD. And, you know, see, that's the problem with these young guys. If you had followed protocol, then all this conflict wouldn't be there. But by Larry Hoover being our supreme gangster, you know what I'm saying? We used to fight against them. Oh, they shot my cousin, they shot my brother. You did the same thing. So the Crusher Man, he sided with Larry Hoover because of David's last word.
Who heard those last words?
I'm assuming 2 or 3 people heard the last word. I wasn't there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But my assumption is he never broke his oath. Therefore, I can speak on that because he never broke it.
Right.
So I don't need no one to tell me that David didn't mess with you. So how you know?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The thing is, we never shot down. You know what I'm saying? They rebelled against that. But through the time of 74, 75, 76, malice became a part.
Mm-hmm.
Envy, you doing this. But we had no leadership in BD. Everybody tried to get that throne. Don Dirk tried to get it. No. The Corleone family tried to get it. No. The body chose who they wanted. And they always brought up Shorty Freeman name. The body turned them down at first. Then they went through formality of naming who. And Shorty Freeman name came back. But Shorty Freeman was a king already though. He had the first title of king, an speed king. He was their king. So there are a lot of people following him. So we need, I'm gonna jump the gun now. So the merge in chaos, you know what I'm saying? We didn't have leadership. Didn't nobody want to step up. They were scared of going to jail. That's where Don Dirk came in and lit the fuse, bring BD back to order. You know what I'm saying? Because they were falling. They were falling. Everyone turning GD. They came up with several ideas to bring BD back to Orleans. I give him credit for that.
I don't want to misquote this, but was he responsible for them recognizing the crown upon Larry's head?
No, no. See, there's something.
We're talking the second time. We're not talking the first time when David did so.
No. When do you know a Don, or how much power do you have?
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? No, I'm going to show you a point. How much power do you have to put a crown on the next man's head when you're in a different organization? See, you cannot control destiny. You know what I'm saying? Although you would like to, you know, you would want to sit up on the throne, being who you are. But that's not so. You're in a different organization, you're going to put the crown on somebody else's head? Who believe that?
It was kind of explained in a very unique situation, being in Stateville. And I interviewed Don Dirk, and he explained the situation, and various people verified the fact that while in Stateville, he did have the power of Stateville, and a situation came about. I don't want to.
Now, yeah, I know what you're saying, but let me try to clear that up. As far as power in Stateville, I left Stateville in '78, going to a joint that had just opened up.
You said that Don Dirk did some very good things.
Yes.
And I'm going to I'm not going to allow you to do anything. I'm going to step back and let you finish what you were saying. And you tell the story, you know.
Yeah. You know, we were speaking on the marriage
Yes.
of two nations.
Yes.
BDs and GDs, and what constitutes an effort between them two involving Don Dirk.
Yes.
Don Dirk tried to bring this back to life because it was dying out.
Yes.
You know? So, and what he did was he put himself out there on Front Street, you know, to draw it in. But, you know, a lot of people dislike him for what he do, and we're not going to get into that because when you do bad things, you can do good things, you know. So don't be too quick to judge. Learn your history before you jump out there. In order to understand why the merge came and why it disappeared. You know, it was like overnight, individual whisper in their leader ear, man, I don't like him because he's GD. He got something that I want. Then you got the BDs on him, man, I don't like him anyway because he's GD. See, I tell people conflict starts within the organization. You know, it's individuals who want to move up, you know, and what they do, they cluster behind the leader, you know. They do things to please him, you know what I'm saying? So it happened. When this merge came about, it was a good thing. When it broke up, it became a bad thing. Well, it was good on one side and bad on the other side because GD had the numbers and the power. So they kind of squashed the BD. But in time, everything came back in order. But let me say this, the merge come in 1978, you know, and you listen to individuals who said it came before then. No, it didn't. But you brothers out there, learn your history, learn who you're talking to and what you're about. See, some just on greed, some nervous knowledge just to get over. You know what I'm saying? They go to different places and do different things. You know what I'm saying? You ask a person how you become BD. Is there a ordeal that you have to go through to become a BD? Did you have to sign paper, or did you have to give your oath? You know. See, this is what chaos come in, confusion come in. You know, what do it take to be a BD? If you listen to me, you don't have to listen to no one. It's what you claim you are. That's what you are, BD. You know, I don't need you to verify that I'm a BD or not, or a GD, or a traveler. It's what's in my heart that want me to stand up and say, I'm BD. You know? So I tell these guys, you know, you got individuals out here and tricking them. I'm so-and-so, so-and-so. If you send me woo, a couple of dollars, I'll come down there and, you know, put you in. Yeah, you gonna put him in, you know? But, you know, it's the grab that people take. You know what I'm saying?
Understandable.
They use money, they do anything to control a person. They take history and turn it around and put themselves above the next man.
That seems to be, respectfully, a situation that occurs a lot amongst us, Black people.
Yeah.
This thing, whatever organization, it seems to me, in my mind, that it is working against us more so than it used to work for us. How do we communicate to some of the younger brothers? Is, you know, again, there's some young brothers out there that's in control of things, and we're not going to disrespect them.
Right.
We're talking about right now.
Right.
But how do we communicate with them in saying, hey, you know, we need to find a middle ground here?
Yeah. You know, I have a guy that I talked to in Alabama. I've been talking to T-Rob about 4 or 5 years now. This boy, he in tune with the history of BD. I know at least 10 people that he talked to. Older G, he talked to Fontaine, Cliff, my brother, and he know more history than BD know history. See, but like I tell him, you got to learn your history. You see, it changed. It changed, it evolved. And them brother who listen to one and listen to another, it got to be believable, you know. The vices is there, you know what I'm saying? You got to choose what you want or what you believe. It don't take nothing to join a club, join it for the right reasons. I tell brother, you know what I'm saying? Don't be faking in this. You know what I'm saying? Someone might get hurt. Then we like education is the best thing there is, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We have, I'm in an organization, Operation Peace, where we go out in different neighborhoods and do different things, helping people do things that they're not able to do, you know. It's a gift that I'm giving back because I'm still here, you know. This is what I want brother to see. When they're in the street, they got to make a way to do what's right. You know, it's not about achieving a goal that you couldn't reach. It's about achieving a personality that will set you free. You know,
Interesting.
It's a lot of things that people can do. Now I was looking at the news the other day when I seen Dad.
Who?
It's a program that they got going. They at the school watching their kids go home, make sure they're not molested in any way. See, this what bring the neighborhood together when you got your dad out there watching you and others go home. This is what we want with our organization. You know what I'm saying? We want to be in tune with our neighborhood. Our community should see us doing something better than what we did 20 years ago.
And to benefit as black people doesn't make us go against any other people. Right. You know, self-preservation is the first law of nature. We're in a pretty bad predicament right now.
Yeah.
You know, and this platform here is trying to share a space where we can find some harmony to try to make our situation better. You know, I'm very honored that you took the time to talk with me, and I see a real triple OG, you know, and I respect that. We gotta come to some resolution here, you know, and that's what this platform is about. And I wanna thank you for coming on this platform. For now, I say to the audience, stay tuned, follow and subscribe so that you can continuously get new information. Thank you. That's it. That's all.
When God calls, the streets will fall. Black angels coming for their souls. The guns turns to love.
Well, we end up fighting every day in this month.
Wow.
We fought against Valley Lord, Supreme Lord, folk on the Rangers.
Why were there so many gangs?
I knew for different era, different neighborhood.
Everybody just made up a gang.
Yeah,
in their area.
Damn near.
When God calls whole souls. When God calls, the streets will